crits.
Yeah, they make this really convenient, bro. I say that every time it starts recording.
Oh,
Alright.
This can't accuse it being subtle.
shut down.
Let me take a sip of my tea real quick. Is it a stereotype that people in Britain drink a lot of tea or not?
Oh, it's well
It's true.
earned. We definitely drink a lot of tea.
Yeah.
Is it like religiously, like every morning? Like
Every morning. Like the most popular brand I think for most up north most down south is the Yorkshire tea brand. It works well with hard water.
what is that made with? Like what plant?
The tea plant, just a different breed, because tea is more than just one species of plant. There's multiple different species, and
Right.
you occasionally cross hybrid and get hybrid species of tea. And it's with tea, you can't ever just say, "Oh, I just drink tea." You got to say, "Oh, where does my tea come from? Which plants it come from?" And a lot of that is part of the joy of tea. You find out new blends all the time.
All right, interesting. Because I just drink black tea, and I just get that from the store. Like, there's no, like, I'm no connoisseur. You see?
Black tea is an acquired taste. As I drink Earl Grey occasionally, so
Let's see.
definitely very accustomed to that.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get the podcast started. So we named the podcast 100% Crit. We didn't have a name for it last episode we did. So, hey, man. I think that's a cool name. 100% Crit. I don't think anyone has that. So that's good. And let me
Cool.
see. All right, man. We'll start with you, Cynic. You said you didn't like PVE, but hey, we'll get into
PvP.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
PvP.
I can't stand PvP for the most part. I vastly prefer the experience the game gives me rather than interacting with players. I hate most players.
Wow.
fair.
Yeah, you're living up to your name. British Cynic. All right. But me, I think all PVE'ers deserve to go to jail. You guys need like prison time, to be
What?
honest.
I mean, to be fair, with some of the games I am playing, it feels like prison time at the moment.
I mean, you guys need minimum 20 years of prison time.
Why is that?
What? All this shit they do, man. Listen, killing all the animals, taking all the resources. Like, what is this?
Yeah, like how
That's
dare
fine.
we?
They kill everything. Like, they're bad for the environment. That's at least they sell their things at high prices.
And I'm pretty certain most player characters are being the cause of at least one world war, depending on what game you're playing.
Right? Come on, yo.
True.
Like, these guys, they're terrible, man. Minimum 20 years. And for every let's say in-game item set you have, another 20 years added onto that.
I think there's space for everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
We need crafters, we need PvP'ers, we need PVE'ers.
Nah,
Everybody.
PVE'ers could go, man. Guys like Cynic, you know, they just running around killing stuff. I can't have any of that. All right, let me ask y'all a question. So I see there's news that War Thunder goes to PS5 and the new Xbox. Do you guys think like eventually the consoles overtake the PCs when it comes to MMOs or no?
No.
Yes and no. I think the consoles will become PCs. So
Consoles
makes
are
sense.
PCs.
exactly.
I mean, the whole point of a console is it gives you a common frame of reference for anyone developing. It's like a target for hardware that never changes. It's great when you're trying to get your game out to a market, but it doesn't allow you a lot of room to innovate with expansion features unless you want to plan ahead your expansion features to coincide with the next console releases. Like, for example, Final Fantasy 14, for example, the loading screens we had and still have in the game are because it launched on the PlayStation 3, and that couldn't handle large areas. It still hasn't been corrected because you can't go that deep in the code without some major changes now, but this deep in the pipeline for it.
Right.
100%.
No, I get it, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if the technology gets, advanced enough to where like you know, they could support any game, you know, that's going to come out. Like, I feel like at some point, will people like, because you know, PC, like, you do everything on it, like there's Windows installed and everything. Do you think like people with consoles in their house would just outnumber the amount of people with like a traditional PC?
I think consoles have a niche appeal for MMOs. I think, as we've seen with the launch of Terra on PlayStation and Elder Scrolls Online, there is a market for free-to-play games to bring in people to whom MMOs aren't necessarily the first game they pick up.
Exactly.
PCs, I think, have definitely earned more of a niche for, shall we say, the more hardcore MMO player, World of Warcraft, EVE Online, etc. But
Exactly.
I think consoles themselves have a role to play, but I don't think it's the same role that World of Warcraft would currently enjoy on PC, for example.
I agree 100%. I like Sky.
I see what you're saying. But I wonder though, because you see right now the mobile market is booming. You know, a lot of like game devs now are like making mobile games, and they're making way more money, like probably double, triple the amount of money they make from their PC games, right?
Yeah,
so I'm wondering.
Yeah. The worst thing is, the games that are making the most amount of money per investment time allocated are asset flips. It's games that use the built-in assets from the game engine they're using, because you occasionally get free assets to use, like with Unity, you get some assets, I believe. And it's games that use those to a high degree that end up having the most amount of profit generated. And despite the fact that these games have almost none of the effort you see put into other mobile games, for example, that's depressing.
Yeah, a lot of those games are pretty garbage, not gonna lie. A lot of them are just copy and paste. A lot of them are like they have these features that auto plays for you. I'm like, where's the fun in that? The game is playing for you. Like, but I wonder, man, because right now there's some games that have like esports leagues, mobile games. They have like esport leagues and stuff, and you see people on YouTube playing on their phone, like you know, it's crazy to me. But yeah, I think that's expanding too.
I don't think mobile's going to take away from anything. It's just another avenue for revenue. I guess, for them.
Yeah. I guess my real question is, will something ever overtake the PC?
No.
Depends. In a lot of the Asian countries, mobile
because money talks,
extremely popular. Yeah, money talks. But say PC has grown to the position it has with us because we grew up playing PC games. We had the early games of DOS, the early Windows versions, and that's now matured into quite a nice gaming system. But in Asian countries, they didn't have that back in the day. They may have had some of the other consoles like the Atari or the Master System or others like those. But for the most part, a lot of the Asian countries are now finding mobile playing as being their very, very first port of call into gaming. I mean, take China. China is a massive mobile gaming market.
Exactly.
I mean, a huge amount of mobile. And they take an approach that's different to us from mobile games. They play mobile games. They heavily invest. They participate in microtransactions, whereas in the West we detest microtransactions because we're used to paying full price for a video game and not getting anything else. And then we had DLC, we had that introduced, and we've certainly gotten more used to the idea of getting more content. But in China, they're far more used to the idea of paying more just for the purpose of privilege of playing that game.
Yeah, and the games, it's surprising because the games they're playing are so like, they're terrible looking. Like, I don't know. I don't understand how they get into it with all like the Western games that look so good. Are they not reaching that market? Because when you look at the mobile games those guys are playing, you're like, I don't like this. Does not look good. The text looks terrible. Like, and they're making so much money off of them, and I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
Well, the problem is Asia's a very, very fractured market. So you've got the Chinese market, you've got the South Korean market, the Thai market, the Japanese market, and they all have different needs and desires and histories. And China, the reason why mobile gaming is popular in China is it's very, very easy to make like a non-committal game that doesn't do much, that doesn't interfere with the Chinese Communist Party's stance on what is and isn't tolerated. It gets around that much easier. But Japan's been innovating for mobile games for far longer. I mean, we had Final Fantasy before Crisis, I think, on the mobile, Basically, it was a Final Fantasy VII spin-off that it was one of the very, very first proper mobile games that was received quite seriously. And they've been doing wonders with mobile games ever since. We're only recently coming up now with the expanded market we've got with iOS and Android of having the same sort of gaming on that platform.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it? You think the Chinese market? They're like under, like they're not up to the level we're at in terms of gaming. Like, you know how we've been gaming for like decades. You know, on PC and things like that, right? It's like,
Yeah,
how like, do you think they're just behind on the power curve? That's why their games look kind of trash. You know,
well, we are ahead of the curve. We've already experienced what we like in a video game, whereas
exactly.
with the mobile market in China, it's much more limited with what they're able to make, and so they have to put up with what's there. So they will go to the most mobile games on there that give them the experience that they want. Unfortunately, it's very, very difficult for any other company that's not Chinese to make
take advantage of that market.
Yeah, exactly. You have to conform to the Chinese Communist Party's stance on what is and isn't acceptable. And many companies out there have tried. Blizzard, most notably, have tried doing it. They heavily revamped several of the textures of World of Warcraft, changed several aspects of the game just to fit into the market. And even then, they've encountered problems.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, those are my questions. You guys can go ahead. I think Cynic.
What is the worst MMO you've ever played?
The worst MMO I've ever played. I would have to take a second to think about this. Let me see.
Take your time.
Ooh. The worst MMO. That's a good question, though. I've played a lot of garbage over the years, man. Wow. That's a hard one.
You're gonna kill me, but Warcraft.
You said Warcraft?
For me. Yeah.
Wow. Warcraft?
Yeah. Wow. I can't do it.
World of Warcraft. Oh, yeah, Warcraft is a whole different game. World of Warcraft. Yeah.
World of Warcraft.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. The art style I can't get into. I'm really picky about that kind of stuff. I like really crisp, detailed graphics.
That you ever played though?
Yeah, I had a really nice priest going on in PvP. Did battlegrounds and all that, but I never kept my attention because I would always go back to something that looked better. For that simple reason. Call me crazy.
You're crazy.
Wow. I think that's pretty crazy, man. I got hours on World of Warcraft, man. Tons of hours.
I know. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, yo. All right. For me, I can't remember, like, you know, my least. I would have to take time and think about that. But I'll tell you the most disappointing MMO recently that I've played. The most disappointing.
Go ahead.
And that has to be Albion Online, yo. I don't know why. But I don't know why they made that game like that. The game concept, it sounds so great. You're like, all right, this is great. You know, you could kill people, gather resources, form a guild, do all that, gank people. And these are all things that I love, right? And then I download the game. Everything is great. I'm excited. Can't wait. Launch the game. And then I'm looking for something's wrong with the game, right? The graphics are on low settings or something, right? I go into the settings and the graphics are on high. And I'm like, yo, what is this, yo? Why are the graphics so terrible? The game looks like mud.
But was it fun?
Yo, I went like halfway through the tutorial and I just quit. I couldn't deal with the graphics. It looks like old, like the first RuneScape is what it looks like.
Ooh, that's terrible. Yeah.
The game, everything sounds good, man, and it looks like a great game. But the ads for the game are so misleading. The graphics look good, and as soon as you launch it, you're like, wait, what is this?
The old switcheroo.
Cynic, what was your first MMO?
First one was Dark Age of Camelot.
Okay.
Oh, DLC.
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. It's I got on a recommendation from a former colleague I was working at the time, and he was making a big thing of playing a female character, and you can do anything he wants in the game. How it was awesome. It's like, okay, right, I'll buy it because I can get it at a discount from a local cyber cafe that's been closed for a decade now, and it was actually reasonably okay. I mean, if I could afford the sub, I would definitely have taken it up long term. But this was before I had any kind of meaningful, stable income, so all I could manage was the free trial. I admittedly liked it, but that got me into the Dungeons and Dragons style of gaming, because the same store offered Neverwinter Nights, and in lieu of playing Dark Age of Camelot, I went through Neverwinter Nights, and that was honestly been one of the best games I've ever played to start an MMO.
Wait. So, well, all right, but I don't understand the hate for PvP when you started with DOC.
I say I started off with the free trials. I didn't go anywhere near the PvP.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Now my hate for PvP comes because my next MMO that came along shortly afterwards was EVE Online.
Oh,
that'll do it.
yeah.
So I was class 2005, so I joined 2 years after the game's launch. So many of the improvements you're seeing in the game today quite literally were not present in 2005. Let's give you one good example. So, of course, with EVE, you get around EVE via what are called gates between star systems. So think of them as like entry and exit checkpoints.
Right.
Now, back in the day, you could not warp right up to these gates. You had to warp up using your UI. So UI will only give you a maximum distance to warp into 15 kilometers, which is quite a distance to cover. So you would have no choice but to get quite far from the Stargate and then make your way to it, which meant that piracy was literally an organization in its own right.
Yeah.
So through no fault of your own, you'd be approaching a star system on your own merry way, and a second, you've been warp scrambled, you've been completely snared.
The gag fest.
Exactly. Now they did fix this. They actually did make it an improvement, so you could now warp to Stargates as a 0 kilometers. You would walk right on top of them. That killed it overnight. Piracy was no longer a viable option outside of the hardcore nullsec systems. But that completely dampened any enthusiasm I had for player versus player combat when it was, through no fault of your own, something that people were able to take advantage of to give you a really miserable day.
Wow, it's funny how the early games we play influence like the kind of games we like. Because the reason I love PvP is because the first MMO I played was RuneScape back in 2005.
See, RuneScape, I knew people were playing. I was aware of RuneScape back when I was in school, and that was in the late 2000s, so early 2000s. And I knew it was existed, but I just didn't have any compulsion to pick it up. I've since known about it. Since then, I've played it. Since then, it's okay. It's nothing absolutely special.
The thing we used to do in RuneScape was lure people into the wilderness, kill them, and take all their items. That was the fun, right? And a bunch of scammers talking about they're gonna double your gold and things like that. It was amazing. And
because most of the players were like early teenagers, so they had absolutely no concept that you weren't being faithful with your word. They were completely and utterly naive.
Exactly. They're like, well, this guy's gonna trim my armor for me, so I just trade him my armor so he could trim it for me.
Wow.
And then the guy just logs out with your gear. And those were the days, man. And my love for PvP, man, it grew from that game, man. It's been going ever since. But lately, I've been having a thirst for it because these new games, man, they're not really PvP focused, man. I think it's a dying breed, man. Of games.
I mean, apart from the whole realm v realm aspect of Dark Age of Camelot, EVE Online, I think, is pretty much the only consistent PvP experience if you're looking for something that immersive. It's a lot better now. I mean, if you want to get involved, there's a whole war going on right now. It literally is the end time apocalypse. Who's going to come out on top, sort of thing going on.
Oh, that's interesting that you say the end times.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally two of the largest coalitions in the entire game going at each other with hammer and tongs. It's now basically a war of attrition. It's now we're past the point of getting past it with borders now. It is now a case of who can survive the longest with their current reserves of money, ships, and resources before they just stop offering up a fight.
Yo, that sounds wild, yo. But I feel like with EVE, I play like I've got on it like a couple months ago, but it just feels like I'm so behind the power curve because I don't know anything. You know, that's why it's hard for me to get into it.
I mean, most players don't know anything, so you aren't really missing anything much on there. I was saying,
there's people in that's been playing it for like decades, and I'm just here like, how do I turn left?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so my account's still active. I'm part of the 100 million split kill point club, so I've got that going for me. But I know next to nothing about ship combat because I never got involved in it, as much to my chagrin. But it really is a fascinating game when you get right into it, though. The mechanics are quite in depth if you want to go ahead and just kill people. There is one rule, however, in World of Warcraft that you should obey, not in EVE Online, sorry, that you should obey, is that if you both enter into a fight and that fight is a fair fight, then you both screwed up. Because EVE is not about fair fights. EVE is literally about coming up on your opponent and whopping them and making their day go from bad to worse. It's not there as an even skill-based fight. It's there for you to take advantage of someone.
Yeah, I'm good with all that, to be honest. You know, when you said end times, it reminded me of a game I used to play. You ever heard of Face of Mankind? Because D hasn't.
I've never heard of it.
Oh my god, yo! It was like an open PvP game, and when you're talking about end times, there was this faction, and it was like at the later stages of the game before it got shut down, right? There was this faction called Death Legion, and they're like probably the biggest faction, most armed faction in the game, right? And then one day, for some reason, I don't know why, they decided to declare war in the whole game, right? And then and it was crazy. It was like that end time situation you're talking about. Everybody was going against them. They're fighting everybody, and it was like every other faction in the game got together and fought them, and they were still able to defend themselves and fight us, and it was crazy, man. Like this is my favorite MMO. I used to love that game.
And then it died.
Yeah. After that war, I guess because we didn't take over all their territories, they basically said, we won the game. They were talking shit and on the forums. We won the game or whatever.
Everybody left.
And then they basically just stopped playing after that.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I love the in-game politics, man. I love in-game politics. It makes everything so much more fun.
Yeah, I mean, EVE Online is full of politics. EVE Online's politics is like a whole different video game in itself.
Exactly. That's how Face of Mankind used to be, man. That's why I missed that game so much. But the devs couldn't, keep it running because we weren't getting any new players and they weren't getting enough money, and they decided to just shut it down. But man, I missed that game, man.
Yeah, I remember once going to a gaming convention in Germany. Must have been like 2008, 2009-ish, and I got talking with someone else who also played EVE Online, and he asked me what race was I. So I said Galente, and he fucking slapped me, and they said, I'm Kaldari. Fuck you, bitch. It's like, ow.
That's
nice.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had another question, D?
No, go ahead. I'll think of one.
Oh.
I remember what my worst one was. Worst MMO for me personally, Guild Wars 2.
Do tell.
It's the similar thing. It's the art style more than anything else. The art style for me just doesn't quite gel.
See?
And the more I played with it, is the more it made me realize what I liked in World of Warcraft.
That's how I feel about World of Warcraft.
I played that game I tried it for the first time a couple months ago. I was like, I need a new game to play, EVE Online. And I got some of my friends to start playing it with me. And it just kind of got really repetitive doing all the hearts, running around to the next heart and the next heart. And it all felt kind of the same. And the PvP was interesting because even though your gear wasn't as good, you can still by chance kill somebody that has way better gear than you and higher level. So that was cool. That was the only cool part about it. But I don't think the PvP was very rewarding for me. So we just kind of stopped playing.
Understandable.
Yeah, that was the thing about that game, man. When I get into a game, I don't know how to explain this. Like, to know if I want to continue the game, if the like, let me see. How do I want to word this?
The game has to sell you on itself, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
The game has to make me feel something. Like if I'm playing a game and I don't feel any feelings, I'm not gonna play that game for very long. I feel like that's how Guild Wars was. It was like, nah, the game doesn't make me feel anything. I don't feel anything. It's not. I don't feel a rush or excitement or
You're just
anything.
going through the motions.
Yeah, it felt that way. Just going through heart after heart. There was no. The combat system was kind of interesting. It was very interesting, but still, like I didn't feel like I was doing something. It all felt like, like forced a little bit. You know, when you have to force yourself to play a game and level up, it kind of just felt like that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, man. But you're playing WoW, man. What's you playing the new expansion?
I will be, yes. I'll be playing the new expansion, and I'm just getting used to some of the class changes at the moment. And luckily, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, at least for the moment. There could well be stuff in the second pre-patch, but so far, everything's, at least on Warrior, apart from the DPS numbers, the rotation's pretty much the same, apart from a few new abilities.
That's funny. I stopped playing World of Warcraft on regular servers since like Wrath of the Lich King. And played private servers from then on.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the stuff that's made the game worth playing has come in since Wrath. I mean, for me, my first raiding experience that was in game came in Cataclysm because I wasn't able to. I joined during Wrath of the Lich King, so I wasn't able to get into any kind of serious raiding activity. So
you're kind of far behind, yeah.
Yeah, so me doing Ragnaros and endgame content was magical, frankly, and same with doing Dragon Soul. Dragon Soul as the raid for endgame at the time, I thought that was quite good, even though opinions may differ quite wildly on that quality.
No, Cataclysm is one of my favorite expansions, especially for PvP. I love the PvP aspect because you didn't have to do arenas to get the Cataclysmic gear.
True, but World of Warcraft, my attention wavered during Mr. Pandaria because I got burnt out. It happens to everybody. You play a game for so long, you get burnt out. And during Cataclysm, I found a shining gem in the rough, and I had put so many hours into it that it actually felt like it might take over well for me. And that game was Rift.
Rift?
So
I played Rift for like 2 seconds and then stopped. I'm not sure why I stopped. Maybe something came up and then I just stopped playing it. But there was no clear reason on why I stopped. It felt like a good game when I started playing though.
It was the WoW killer. If there's any game you would crown a WoW killer at any stage in its cycle, it would be Rift. Rift did everything it could to rip off World of Warcraft wholesale. Pretty much, I'm pretty certain that most of the things like skill trees and skill ranks, they ripped and just filed the serial numbers off.
It reminds me of Runes of Magic. Remember that game? You ever played it or tried it?
I had never played it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was basically a super WoW clone, but they added a few aspects to it that, like, they were trying, man. They were trying, but you said Rift did it.
Yeah, actually, World of Warcraft actually stole some stuff back from it. AOE looting, that was first of all in Rift, and people loved it so much they petitioned in the forums for Blizzard to add it, and after months and months of whining, it eventually happened. But Rift was, as I say, Rift actually having AoE looting made the game much, much better, and it was clear it was a really significant quality of life improvement. The other thing as well that they were introduced later on would be the wardrobe system, and it was very, very similar to what Blizzard did in Legion. But I always said if Blizzard came up with something that beat Rift's wardrobe system, I would abandon Rift completely and just dedicate World of Warcraft. And when I was watching the Legion reveal after that horrific Warlords of Draenor expansion, I remember watching the reveal for the wardrobe, and when they finally said that, every quest you've ever done, you will have every single appearance for every single piece of equipment in those quests available and unlocked as soon as the expansion goes live. And I was hooked on that. As soon as that happened, yes, I am so on board with this.
Rift had good PvP. I like that.
Rift's PvP was okay. It wasn't the worst. I mean, Final Fantasy 14, I think, so far is the worst in my opinion. But
any game with the bard in it, I'm good.
But yeah, Rifts made me feel like I was playing the old style World of Warcraft. It made me have to go out into the world and find vendors and find spells to be learned. And why am I underpowered? I didn't go and learn my spell ranks. Let me go back to the main city and learn them again.
Yeah. I love World of Warcraft for that. The like going out and exploring, and that's what it lost. The sense of mystery the game had. Like you got to go to this guy and earn the reputation, and you don't even know what items you're gonna get until you earn their reputation. You're like, oh wow, these are nice items, and it's interesting. Like now everything is kind of streamlined to make it easier, and I guess that's cool. But you kind of lose the curiosity you used to have. I feel like that's one thing that lured me into playing WoW those back in the day. It was like, wow, this, you didn't know what was going on and you were exploring,
I mean, we have WoW Classic back now, and obviously it's not the exact same experience because there will be things that's changed. First of all, we know the destination that the game is going. We've known that since launch. Yeah. So have I, yeah. But in this case is that I think it will get a resurgence if they announce Burning Crusade Classic, but if they do it as a separate server. If they upgrade this Classic server to Burning Crusade, I think that they'll miss an opportunity. I think they should keep the Classic experience as is, and then allow migrations of characters from Classic to Burning Crusade.
Yeah, they should definitely follow the private server model because that's what the private servers do. They have Classic, service. They have Burning Crusade, they have Wrath of the Lich King. So they have all of them simultaneously running.
Yeah. So imagine for a second running the old Nax instance at level 70. So imagine that's still in Burning Crusade. It's still very much in there. Imagine getting that, then imagine transferring that character eventually to, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, however far they decide to go up the chain, knowing what you'll need from stuff that was taken away.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever played Final Fantasy 11? Either of you?
I tried playing it. I didn't like the inventory system. That's the whole reason why I couldn't put up with the game. It was a fine game. It's a game I'm sure if I dedicated time to it, I could put some
Talk about
hours.
nitpicking.
yeah, I know. Even inventory to me is important. This is why I enjoyed Final Fantasy 14, because I enjoy its inventory system.
Yeah. The gear swapping, you mean?
Oh, gear swapping and having just one character for everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We were talking about WoW Classic, and what turned me off to WoW Classic? I wanted to get back into it for the PvP because I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be great. And I logged in the first day, right? And you couldn't kill anything because there are people camping them. Like every mob had somebody camping it. You couldn't kill anything, so I stopped playing. Waited a week or a couple of days, got back on it again, and started playing. And after like 2 weeks, I realized why I played on private servers. Because, bro, it's so fucking grindy, bro. I couldn't do it, man. It's cool to do it as a kid, but man, after you have responsibilities and things like that, it's hard to play grindy games, man.
Yeah,
it was hard to do. I'm like, I have to stop playing. This is too grindy. And I just stopped at level 19, and then just made it a twink just so I could do the battlegrounds.
There you go.
Yeah, man. That's how you gotta do it. I couldn't play it, man. Too grindy.
I kind of miss Battlegrounds.
Oh, the BGs were fun, man.
Yeah.
I could probably log in and still do some now. Interesting, man. Yeah, I know you hate PvP, Cynic, so you're like all quiet. Like,
that obvious, huh?
Talking about it's too grindy. Yeah, because my only goal of PvPing is to PvP. PvE.
That might get me back in WoW again. PvP. I don't know.
Yo, I heard the PvP in Classic is good. I just could never. I should probably pay somebody to just play for me, to be honest. Sometimes you see those guys talk about, I'll level your character for you, power boost, and sometimes I'm like, man, I'll let you do it, man. If only you didn't steal my account.
I know someone that went through one of the servers and he did lose his account doing it. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, I don't have time to be doing everything, but I would love to just come home one day and just going to just straight into PvP and just enjoy that, you know.
I actually know someone that got his kids' power level as characters for him.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal.
Apparently, if it was a good deal.
Yeah, give him candy or something, a cake. Yeah,
What are your favorite classes on 14?
Oh, I main Black Mage, so that still remains my firm favorite.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
It's probably easy to say the class I dislike.
Healers.
Actually, I don't mind Scholar. I don't mind White Mage. I just can't seem to get the hang of Astrologian.
That's my favorite one.
I know it involves cards and pulling cards because those cards give your party buffs, but I end up resorting to Benefic 2, and then it drains my HP and my mana, and then it gets incredibly hard to heal. And for some reason, both Scholar and White Mage it flows easier when I'm healing with those two rather than Astrologian.
Okay. Do you main mage in WoW?
I know I main Warrior in WoW. Mage is my backup character though, because I like having characters with portals. That is a massive selling point for me in convenience. But Warrior is my main character. He's been my main character since I begun, and he is built like a brick shit house. It doesn't go down easy.
Nice.
Oh, you got a prot?
Oh, I'm Fury, so no, feel sorry for me. We have the worst numbers in the pre-patches expansion.
Oh.
Yeah, we are literally at the bottom of the DPS simulations right now.
I think my favorite WoW character is probably Hunter, man.
See,
Priest.
Enjoyment for me is, can this character AoE properly? And a lot of that is based on the convenience of doing old transmog runs, which is why Warrior and Mage are my favorites, because they can AoE the hell out of everything. And it progressively gets worse from there. Hunter, I can do multi-shot, and I hate multi-shot. It's AoE, but not really. I've tried playing Demon Hunter, and Demon Hunter, I think so far, is the worst gameplay of any class I've ever managed. I leveled Warlock. I thought Warlock was punishing, but no, Demon Hunter is a whole new lesson in punishment.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like Hunter from a PvP perspective. I always liked it because you see everyone as a puzzle. Like, there's a technique to beating everyone, and beating people in duels and things like that. It's like solving a puzzle. Like, okay, I'm gonna put my trap here. He's gonna go there. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna go back, and it's like solving a puzzle.
Yes,
because usually people are trying to close distance on you, and you're trying to stop them from doing that, and you're just like solving them. And that was like,
yeah.
I love rogues for that too. Rogues, when you play rogues, it's kind of like that too, like just solving people, like countering every move. It's like that's what I love about PvP, man.
Yes, and Hunters, for those that like point-and-click adventure games where the only puzzle is use gun or man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Now I miss PG. I want to play now.
Yeah. Talking about it, I want to just hop on a server, man, and just get back into it. But Cataclysm, I love Paladins. Paladins on Cataclysm was just legit, bro.
Yeah, Paladins for me, I'm still sold on the gameplay for them. I can play them, I can do decently with them, but it just feels wrong being a single target focused class. But okay, I've got Consecration for my main AoE in Divine Storm, but it doesn't feel like a sweepy class. It just feels far too single target focused for me.
It was single target focused since the AoE wasn't it didn't work that well in Cataclysm.
Divine Storm and Consecration.
Divine Storm, yeah.
Ever since they rebalanced it to use Holy Power rather than purely mana, it's been a bit hit and miss with me regards to how much I like it.
Yeah. From a PvP perspective though, it was legit, man.
You can't take it down.
It was legit, man. And even like so at full Cataclysmic gear, like for the full PvP set, and I could beat any class. Like, it just didn't, like, even Warriors could give Paladins a hard time, but I figured them out. I figured out you don't fight them toe to toe, just kite them, and eventually you beat them. it was like I figured every class out on Paladin, and that was great, man. That was great. Yeah, if I could find a good Cataclysm private server, bro, I'd play it. I think there is a good one people were talking to me about, but the leveling there is really slow. It's like it's not the high paced leveling private servers usually have.
Yeah, Cataclysm included a few problems because it was the first server version where they actually had to get around some security in order to get the server working. Everything from Wrath to before, it doesn't have a security layer when you're going through the login process, whereas Cataclysm does. It requires, I think, some signed keys in order to go through and do something with it, which is why it was a huge gap between when you started seeing Cataclysm servers appearing. This is why the Wrath ones still end up being the better ones because they tend to be a more complete experience.
Exactly.
Cataclysm, it's definitely hit and miss with how well they implement the database because some just don't do it right. And there's usually something missing, or that dynamic for group missing, or they've got the quest zones not working correctly, or something along those lines. There's always something not working with some of them.
Yeah, I got so good at playing the Cataclysm classes, man. Rogue, like there used to be this private server called what was it, Molten Wall, right? They had the best Cataclysm server. Like there was no close second, right? But something happened between the admins and whatever, the GMs, and they got into a fight or whatever, I think, and then server got shut down and all the characters were lost, etc. And it's like, bro, that's the gamble with private servers, man, losing all your work because sometimes a lot of these guys are not that professional. And I guess that happens with regular games too, so I can't completely blame that on private servers.
I mean, I've tried using private servers privately myself. I mean, I've tried playing with them, seeing how they work. For educational purposes, not actually putting them out there and using them commercially. But it's what's the word? It's interesting to see how some of them work, because some of them are just pure cash grab. Some of them are trying putting a database together, and some just haven't got it working. And it's always interesting to see what they miss out in the private servers, because a lot of them are missing textures, a lot of them are missing mounts, a lot of them are missing data, and it's always an insight to see how well someone's put together something like it. It's always usually a half-baked affair.
Oh, if we're talking about WoW, there's some pretty well put together ones. Like right now, those guys at Warmane, they got it on lock. Those Wrath of the Lich King servers are legit.
Oh, definitely. I've played a couple myself. I mean, the Lich King ones usually are the better ones. In spite of the fact that Cataclysm being more recent, World of Warcraft's Lich King expansion usually is the more solid experience for me.
Yeah. Man, that's interesting. I love private servers though, man. They take out all the bullshit sometimes and just give you like just the raw experience instead of having to grind all day. I think that's what unless you enjoy grinding.
I enjoy the leveling process. Like I actually enjoy leveling characters. That's why I've got so many of them. I enjoy that part of it, and to have that taken away, that would deviate from my enjoyment of the game, I think.
I see. I guess we all have our things, but for me, like that's why I'm in a depression right now, because it's like I hate leveling.
I mean, World of Warcraft now, I mean, they've actually introduced a much more streamlined leveling process. It's actually much easier. It still gives you a leveling experience, but it doesn't take forever now to get to the end stage.
Yeah, I just want a max level character. Can I just have one?
You can buy one.
Yeah, that's probably the move, to be honest. That's probably the move, man.
They allow that now?
I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. 80, right?
But I found playing World of Warcraft is easier if you set yourself like a target of what to do, because you can't. It's like EVE Online. You can't fly around aimlessly not having a purpose. You've got to have some idea of what you want to do in the game.
Yeah, I feel that.
True.
Yeah, and I found that reason because I found the add-on called All the Things. And what that does is it basically breaks the game down into its various expansions and its areas. And it says, right, you have Eastern Kingdoms. You've got all the old raids and all the old dungeons on that side of the continent.
Uh-huh.
This is what drops in those instances. These are the ones you get to unlock appearances for. These are the toys you get to get. These are the recipes that you get to assign to a character for their professions. Go get them.
Nice.
So basically, I've been running for the last couple of weeks solid all of the old instances. Now, I did do a small bit of this in the past. I did get some appearances from when I was doing it previously, but for now, I've been attempting to run Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, both of the Anchorage raids, just to get all the old transmog unlocks. And it's been frustrating because it's made me realize just how horrific the transmog system is and how unfair the drop system is.
That's interesting.
Because right now, the drop system is that it used to be when we were in the... So when we're in Legion, they made a change to personal loot. So when you're now in an old dungeon, you get what's called personal loot, which means that you basically get all of your drops randomized, but you get the same number of drops that a full team would have. So if you're in a raid that would have normally had, say, 5 loot drops, you still get 5 loot drops on your character, but they're entirely randomized. They're not tied to your character class, which it used to be when they did the old systems. I remember going through Blackrock dungeons, and the loot that was dropping was based on my class and spec. There was one hammer that absolutely refused to drop for me unless I went Holy Paladin for that fight, and it dropped after that. But this current system is basically it's combining RNG with RNG because it doesn't stop you from receiving duplicate items, and it's infuriating for the older raids because you've got a large loot pool to look forward to, but you've also got class-specific loot dropping, and you've got to be on that class to get that drop at that time. And that is the most infuriating thing, and it needs to have some sort of boost to enable it to be a bit easier. I'm not saying
can you pass what you don't want to your mates or whatever?
If I was in a group, yes.
Okay.
If I really wanted to, I could go on another class on another account of mine and just dual box or triple box if I wanted to. But A, that's expensive, and B, it's kind of defeating the point of doing this on my own.
Oh, I see. So you're going through and doing all the old raids and stuff.
Yep.
Soloing. Ah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about doing that. That's interesting though.
It's punishing.
I mean, but you enjoy PVE, so I could see how that's interesting. Me, one thing I wanted to do in a while, but it's basically impossible, is to go from what level can you do a battleground in? Level 12, 13, and then reach max level doing only BGs. But that would take so long. I wonder if anyone ever done it before.
They did actually, a long time ago, they did actually make it so doing PvP to end game was viable through doing Battlegrounds. So yeah, people have done exactly what you've just described.
And max out?
Yeah, max out to max level.
Interesting. I would definitely go back and play and do that. I'd definitely pay for that. Not gonna lie. If it's still a thing. Probably have to look it up first.
Yes, it's still a thing that I think I could have sworn there was Round Cataclysm anyway when they made that change, but it's now when you're queuing for Battlegrounds, you do get XP for it, and people have gone to max level doing solely PvP content. You know, the game is geared so that you can spend getting to max level doing either PvP or PvE content.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I might try it and then do probably do a little YouTube video, day 1, day 2, day 3 type thing.
It's been day 5. I want to kill myself.
Nah, I never get bored in PvP because for me it's a brain game of can I outsmart this guy that I'm fighting? Can I outsmart these people? Can I? It's more of I love the competition of it. That's why I love PvP so much.
Yeah, me too.
The thing is, PvE for me is like this NPC is not about to outthink me, but another person can, and just that brain fight of of trying to see what counters what, of trying to counter each other. That's the battle for me, man.
It's more engaging.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see the appeal. I mean, for PvP, if you're getting beaten by a human being, you can accept it because it is a human being. Some people will have better reflexes and such, but PvE is different because PvE gives you this sort of loop where if you lose something, you're only getting a one-track mind to go back in and do it again because like hell are you logging off being beaten by a cloud of 1s and 0s.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that too. I guess fighting the computer, but for me, it's just less appealing. Hey, I shout out to people that enjoy it though. Shout out to you
Yeah,
because you make the world go around.
exactly.
Us PvPers, but it's interesting.
Do you like crafting, Sin?
Cynic, you like crafting?
I do to a degree. I'm crafting at the moment purely because it unlocks transmog ability. Like, I'm going through blacksmithing, leatherworking, and tailoring, just trying to unlock the appearances for them. So, to a degree, I like it, but I don't do it to service other players. I do it just to make sure that I've got everything that I need to unlock. Final Fantasy 14 is different. Fantasy 14, I am part of a guild. I have been trying to get my crafters level. So eventually, I hope to be of some usefulness to people because crafting is so much more integrated to what you have to do during the game. Like, if you want to go on some of the legendary quests, you have to get crafted items from someone, and you either pay extortionate rates or you go to someone in a guild to get mates rates.
I can't stand crafting.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it because my favorite game, like I said, Face of Mankind. To do a lot of fighting, if you weren't in a big guild that just provided you gear, because it's full loot, right? Except for your weapon. You keep your weapon, but everything else is full loot. To actually be viable and going out on your own or with a group of like 2 or 3 people and just doing stuff, you need a lot of gear because you're gonna lose the one you have. So like you just kind of have like a self-made factory you have where you're just churning out gear like back to back to back. So you have a period of farming, making gear, and a period of going out and fighting. Period
Right.
of making gear, period of going out and fighting. And that it was very appealing to do that.
I used to game with a group of friends, and one of them was a crafter, and we just give everything to her, and she make everything for us.
Yeah.
While we just PvP'd and PvE'd.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Some of these people that love crafting so much, they're like marketplace gods. Where
Yeah.
like I feel like in some games, like these guys are known, like this guy's rich as fuck, and all he
Exactly.
does is sit around and craft, and guys tons of money, millions of dollars. And like I told you, last episode we did, I was telling you about Face of Mankind on how you can put hits on people, and these guys they wouldn't do any PvP, they wouldn't do any fighting. They would just put hits on people because they had so much fucking money. And players would go out and kill the person they want killed. It was interesting, man. Man, love that game. I wish I could bring it back, man. All right, last question. Do y'all have any game you wish you could bring back, or any expansion?
Legion, because I think that was the pinnacle of World of Warcraft. I think it should have ended right there. Everything, yeah, everything that we've done, everything in the Warcraft universe has been centered around the Burning Crusade. And Burning Crusade really is the ultimate enemy that's been described in all of the lore and such. I think that the end game for Legion, I think, is the best the game has ever had. I've not been a particularly big fan of the end game content since then. I mean, this expansion with Nylothar was so difficult that looking for raid groups couldn't get it right. And I wouldn't have the problem with Argus. Argus appeared fine. We could get through Argus reasonably quickly on the other end of the expansion for Legion.
Oh, shit. All right, UD.
I wish Final Fantasy 11 never went past level 75.
Why is that?
It ruined everything. Like it made a lot of jobs obsolete, and everyone started quitting and all that. So yeah, I would still be playing that today if the level was still 75.
I think Trusts made 11 sort of redundant when it comes to playing with other people, which was the whole point of the game to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, 11 was a different game anyway. 11, you had to actually go out and have people and look online back in the day as to what they'd found in order to progress, because it was that kind of game. Okay, we've now got walkthroughs and such, but it was a game where you basically grabbed a buddy and you went exploring and tried looking out on the internet for whatever somebody else had found to relay back to you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was explaining this to Dee before. Like, I feel like we should have end game polls that when you log in, it pops up on your screen if you're a certain level or whatever. And then they ask you, do you like this patch? Yes or no. If you don't, then the devs roll back the game to the previous patch, etc.
So like a
one-
voting
And then
system?
proceed that way.
there's one problem with that, and is
Oh.
that players are dicks.
Yes.
You cannot trust the player base to make that kind of decision. The player
Well
base
said.
the player base will find some way to justify not going through a patch just to spite the developers because they've been there that long and that's what they live for.
Yeah, and I feel that it's a balance, right? So I feel like so you would ask them, hey, but then you would also have a text box that you put why. So you look at everybody that says yes, roll it back, or don't roll it back, and look at like what they're saying. And if it holds weight, then you should probably consider it. I'm not saying like it's some end all be all, but at least the devs have a good understanding of what's going on, because I think what they do nowadays is like look at forums and look at the people complaining. And I feel like the people that go on forums and talk are like a handful of people. And if you listen to those people, you piss off a lot of other people, and that's how people end up quitting.
Yeah, because they're catering to the vocal minority. That's been the case
Exactly.
for quite some time
Yep.
now. It's what led to Blizzard going through all the motions for hardcore raiding, and probably didn't realize quite how much casual raiding made up a large proportion of their subscriber base. Like Cataclysm, the player base was arguing since Wrath to have meaningful heroic dungeons with meaningful difficulty. Blizzard said, okay, here's your meaningful difficulty. You now need to use crowd control. And the player base went up in arms. Basically, it amounted to, yeah, I want to change, but not this kind of change.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, it's such a balance that you need. That you have to listen to players, but also know when to do your own thing, but know also when to listen to the players. I think the polls would work, man.
I think they
Because,
should.
I feel like if you
It-
put like an actual text box for people to write why, you can look at their line of reasoning and validate it that way, and not just
Yeah.
have like a like a little radio button or whatever that you just click next, or submit or whatever. But actually have a text box. That'd be interesting because you can actually look through the thoughts of the players and what they're thinking. Like,
I mean,
I think
what
they
Blizzard
should pay attention to their top players and then form like a committee of top players and have them kind of advise the devs on what direction. to go.
nah, man,
Yeah,
nah, you gotta. That's a bureaucrocy there, boy. You can't.
they need focus groups. They need to basically find out
Yes.
from multiple different
Yeah.
areas about what makes the game work. I mean, you've got to take hardcore raiders, you've got to take casuals, you've got to take those who go through looking for raid. You've got to find the balance that suits the most people at the same time if they want to, make any meaningful progress in the game.
True.
I'm not a fan of that because I feel like that creates just bureaucracy, and those people would feel empowered, maybe to
So you want
look out
voting?
for what they like, and not really, what the majority of players would want. I guess I don't know.
Yes, but the whole point is that the reasons you're employing different types of player is that yes, they will go with what they like, but then what they like should ideally be the same as the rest of their demographic.
Mhm.
But I feel like we live in 2020, and we should be able to gather mass data, like through some sort of in-game system, right? Instead of we don't have to rely on just a few people. You can see what everybody has to say,
Yes,
and
correct.
kind of scroll through that data and decide, make a decision.
Yeah.
So I see it. But anyway, I gotta answer my own question now. The game I would bring back, I've been talking about it. I probably won't stop talking about it. And that's Face of Mankind, bro. And why that is, I never played a game like that. The game went
Have you
to.
emailed them? You should email them.
I'm planning on buying it. To be honest, if I make enough money, I will email those guys and I will ask them for the game. How much do you want for it? And I will put that game out and play it by myself. Yo, but it was great, man. I think what the downfall of the game was they didn't have a good tutorial. I hate tutorials. I hate tutorials, but that's just me. I feel like a lot of people need tutorials because thing is, we had they released the game on Steam like towards the end, and we had an influx of new players, but none of them knew what to do. The game just drops you in the middle of the game, kind of, and you're just wondering what to do. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to craft. You just have to figure everything out on your own. And on top of that, people are shooting you.
I mean, there are some games that actually works. There's a couple of games, admittedly not quite MMOs. There are a couple of games that just deposit you in the action and say, here's the action, learn, sink or swim.
It was kind of the sink or swim thing. There was like one neutral like neutral zone. It was called Brooklyn. If you're in Brooklyn, no one could shoot at you. Weapons don't work there. But as soon as you exit Brooklyn, you're free game. Like and there's nothing really interesting in Brooklyn, so everybody's gonna obviously exit it. When you exit it, man, there's guys that have been playing the game for a while, and you're not gonna beat those guys ever in your life. And I feel like it kind of messed up a lot of new players, man. Like they just didn't understand the game or even what to do, what the game was about, nothing. Like, and I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't even understand this, and then just quit. Because I feel like let's say the average player logs into a new game for like maybe an hour or two and then never play it again. So like during that first 2 hours, you have to captivate the players, man. I feel like that's what they failed to do, and that's why the game died.
I mean, I said the same for WildStar. I mean, WildStar didn't really do much to capture its players' attentions.
Yeah, the first 2 hours are so crucial, man. The first 2 hours of content, they have to evoke some kind of feeling in the person playing it, and it just has to, man. Just because even look at World of Warcraft, right? You start playing World of Warcraft, you start doing the quest, and then the quests make you go to Orgrimmar. The first few quests, they force you to run to Orgrimmar or the Stormwind or whatever city you're at, right? And when you walk into that city, you see everybody like dueling in front of the city and everything. And you're like, wow, look at this. And you walking in, everybody standing in front of the auction houses, and you seeing all the mounts and all the things. Like, it gives you a sense of awe. And I remember, like, that's what they did that perfectly, man.
I mean, playing WoW for the first time, I remember being in awe at just having professions like I could learn recipes for. That I was sold on that feature alone when I first started.
Yeah, man. It's like Blizzard. They did that perfectly, man. And the towns where they put the auction houses, like everybody's standing there, and then you're as a new player, you're walking in, no gear, you seen everybody in their armors and their mounts jumping around and stuff like that. You're like, wow, you get a tiger mount, and it's like, wow, look at this mount, and it that kind of just seeing other players and their items just captivated your imagination, I feel, in that game. Like they did that so perfectly, man. And I feel like some games where you just stuck in a tutorial, like tutorial kind of vibe throughout the whole game, and every other player you see is the same level as you with the same gear, and you don't ever really like see the potential in the game, and then you just quit after like about an hour or 30 minutes or something,
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Hey, man, we'll probably end it here, man. It was good episode. We spoke for like probably a little over an hour, so that's good, man. Good for a second episode, and we didn't even introduce ourselves probably, but hey, the more episodes we do, the better we'll get at it. So yeah, I'm Qwan.
I'm Dee.
And I'm Cynic.
And Young Cynic. He's a rapper from Britain. Look him up on iTunes. All right, man. Thank you guys for listening, and we're out.
All right, later, guys.